We got one last. That's why we. Those I have. Hello, everybody. All the November Council meeting in Moreland Hills, November 9th, 2022. To order. I would ask you, have everyone stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, nation, under God, indivisible.
Liberty and justice for all.
Sherry, we need to call the roll, please.
Evans,
Here.
Yaki,
Here.
Mr. Richmond,
Here.
Spencer.
Here. Okay, that brings us to the minutes from our last regular council meeting dated October 12th, 2022. Do we have any changes, deletions, or corrections, or should we have a motion for approval?
Move.
I actually have a
Oh,
couple
sorry.
very minor additions or changes. On page one, the last paragraph before reports from the mayor, I think it should say the CBC manager is very easy to work with. Which that was Mr. Heisterkamp. And then I have one other minor one on page 3 under the engineer's report. Mayor Chris asked if he should attend as well, the meeting. Other than that, I'm good.
Okay. With those amended changes, do we have a motion for approval?
So move there.
I'll second.
Do we have a motion for approval? Richmond, seconded by- See over here, we need that.
Mr. Remmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Fitch. Yes. Mr. Yaki,
Yes.
Mr. Richmond,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Thank you, Sherry. Any resident wishing to comment? I know we have a group of young ladies here who are going to make a presentation to us. Before we go to that presentation, are there any other residents in attendance who would like to comment on it? Okay. If that's said, I had the pleasure of meeting Jill Moody at one of the events down at the Land Pavilion. And she brought up something called the Mayor Monarch Pledge and gave us some information on it, which we're very interested in. And there was a suggestion made that Elizabeth Moody, Olivia Kim, Annie Way, and April Yao would come before council and make a presentation on just what it is that their effort looks to improve. And with that, we'll turn the floor over to you guys.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth. I'm Annie. I'm Olivia. And I'm Rachel. And we are a team of sea monarchs and would like to talk to you about monarch butterflies. Experts from the International Union for the Conservation of Nature estimate that the eastern monarch population size has been reduced by more than 80% since the 1990s and continues to decline at an even faster rate every year. I'm learning that the monarch butterflies were placed on the endangered list by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. Our first action was to research what were the major threats to their population. In the beginning, we found flower gardens with milkweed by each of our houses and spent 30 minutes twice a week observing the monarchs and counting how many visited our way station. Sadly, we didn't see very many, and that is when we went into action. The first problem we looked at was the declining milkweed plants. Milkweed is the only plant that monarchs will lay their eggs on and the only plant that will eat. The decline is mostly due to the use of herbicides in the farm. Previously, would sprout up and clean crops. We can help by increasing the number of waste stations, flower gardens that contain milkweed, residential areas. So far, we have planted 5 new waste stations and have officially registered 3 of them. We have also collected seeds from 3 native milkweed. And testing them out at our presentation. We have also sent seeds to Cleveland Seed Bank.
The next problem facing monarchs is pesticide use. When plants and lawns are sprayed with pesticides, all of the insects are affected, not just the pesky ones. We encountered this when we bought some milkweed plants from a local nursery and noticed that the caterpillars were dying. When we called the nursery, they confirmed that they did spray the plants.
How can we help? We're planning a series of presentations with local garden clubs, community groups, and schools. We're encouraging people to discontinue the use of pesticides in their flowers, cover their flowers if they know when they're treating for mosquitoes, and if they have to treat their lawns, use a granular pesticide that will not waft over to their plants. We're also going to be writing letters to local nurseries asking to cover their milkweed plants when they spray. Very news that only 2% of monarchs are still surviving the wild. A tested style is a T5 will raise eggs on the monarch agriculture and then rely on the viral and How can we help? We researched and learned that plants with strong aromas were repelled by. So, in each of the waste stations that we have been observing, we planted 1 fire repellent. We used sage, basil, geraniums, lavender, mint, lemon balm, and 1 we sprinkled coffee grounds. 1 waste station was kept without a fire repellent as our control. We would like more time to collect data next summer, but so far out of the 30 monarchs that we raised and released, 3 were infected with the T5 larva. They all came from our control station.
Ophrocystis electrosclera, or OE, is another parasite that cripples the monarch butterflies so they can't fly or make them too weak to migrate. The spores live on the outside of the butterfly, and when they stop on flowers or milkweed, they shed the spores like fairy dust. Other butterflies will come along and pick up the spores from the flowers. If the spores are on the eggs, when the caterpillar hatches, it eats its eggshell and then digests the spores. When it hatches from the chrysalis, it will be eaten.
Before we released the butterflies that we raised, we tested them for OE. We used a piece of tape and collected some scales off their abdomens and looked at them under a microscope. None of the butterflies that we released were infected with OE spores. We were happy about this because it is recommended that butterflies with OE should be euthanized in order to stop the spread. Eastern monarchs are the only butterflies to make it to our migration. Monarchs spend their winter or huddle in the coolest of the Sierra Madre Mountains of Mexico. The trees there help keep their bodies warm in the cold winter. In the spring, when it starts to warm up, they awaken and start migrating. It takes 3 generations of monarchs to travel north as far as Canada. Then the final generation will emerge from the chrysalis. Larger in size and not able to reproduce. This final generation will travel all the way back to Mexico to hibernate. Blogging in Mexico has made it hard for the monarchs to find a place to hibernate. How can we help? We joined the program called Symbolic Migration that connects children in Canada, the United States, and Mexico. We made a large butterfly out of construction paper and decorated it with pictures we had drawn of the monarch life cycle, and a letter we wrote in Spanish about our project. We are hoping that by participating in this program, we will encourage the next generation of monarch stewards in Mexico.
Finally, we are trying to build awareness in the community about the problems facing the monarchs. We are presenting to several garden groups, community groups, and schools this winter and passing out seeds for people to start their own waste stations. Cleveland is an important area for monarchs. They have to fly all the way across the country, and Cleveland is the first place to get to us before continuing.
We have written letters to 15 mayors in our area asking them to join the Mayor's Pledge to the National Wildlife Federation, committing their towns to being part of the change that improves monarch habitats. Our next generation, our children, will not be able to witness the amazing journey these butterflies make if we don't make changes now.
I'm going to tell you, I am incredibly impressed with the research you brought forward. I'm shocked to hear 80%. That's a very significant portion of a drastic reduction of the monarchs. This village will be committing, we will be staying in touch with you, and we will commit to planting some of the milkweed along with some of the scented fly repellents as well. And we can certainly be of assistance with the messaging with your campaign to all of our residents. But aside from all of that, which we will be participating in, you've definitely made a case for that. I just want to commend you. It's so good to see young ladies like yourselves getting so engaged in a cause. It's very uplifting for me. And in an age with very demonic and vitriolic politics nationwide, it's good to see a young crowd getting together and putting their brains together for a cause. So I commend you greatly, and I thank you for coming before us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of council like that?
Could I ask one question? April, I think it was you that said that it takes 3 generations for the butterflies to come back. I always knew they went to Mexico and came back, but I didn't know it was 3 generations. That's amazing. Like, how did you learn about that?
I read a few books on them. I researched it a bit and I saw that, and I think it's very interesting too.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you. If I can ask, when is there a better time to plant milkweed than another, or can it be planted all year?
So milkweed, it can be planted in the spring. You just have to like put the seeds in like a cold place, and then you can plant them in the spring, or you can plant them in the fall, I think.
So the seeds that you've given out, you would keep those cold.
Yeah.
Through the winter, and then in the spring we can plant them.
Right.
So I- Yeah, I'd like to work with you, all of you, to come up with an area in the village where we could, definitely plant, a substantial amount of milkweed with some of the repellents for the flies. Down by the pavilion is a great suggestion, at Forest Ridge. Have you been to the pavilion yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's certainly an area we could look and search out some areas where we could identify it and help to educate and then help with the problem too. So we look forward to working with you, and we'll be doing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a great presentation. So good to see that. I'll ask one more. Sure, absolutely.
You're welcome.
Okay.
You know, we'll be excited.
Like photo bomber?
Where would you like to do?
Right inside. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, ladies. We appreciate it very much.
My glasses on.
Now I got my God.
Oh, yeah, first I was like, this is.
Okay, on our agenda, this brings us to a report from the mayor and other elected officials. I'm going to keep my comments short this evening. I will pass this around. I'm sure all of you have seen it. Why don't we pass it on and start with David? These are the results for the charter amendment. There was one notably that passed with less enthusiastic support than others, and it was the ability for the mayor to, I think we changed the language from secretary to administrative assistant. And one could argue that the way it was written, implied I was going to be hiring a new position, and then that's more government. So a lot of people would vote, tend to vote against that. But it still passed handedly, and all the other ones passed as well. So good job to our Charter Review Commission, and with special thanks to Mr. Hannah for guiding them and coming up with some very reasonable and passable changes to our charters. Thank you. A few other things politically related. In voter turnout in Cuyahoga County yesterday was an abysmal 46%. I continue to be very, very saddened by that turnout. And it seems to be a repetitive number that comes up, certainly never very much in front of about 50. Moreland Hills, we were at 64%, so I think that's something we can be proud of. Chagrin Falls, just to give you some comparisons, was 61%, Orange was 63, and Pepper Pike was 64. There were a lot of adjoining communities that were much less than Moreland. So I think our residents should be commended for a decent turnout. Brewer versus Chantel Brown for our US District 11. Chantel Brown did take that. All of our precincts, 2 out of 3 of our precincts voted in that regard to support Chantel Brown. And then Phil Robinson one-handedly, again, taking 2 out of 3 of our precincts. And of great importance to me, and I know many others in the room, the Metro Parks issue did pass with all 3 of our precincts very handedly. And so that was good to see as well. That is basically it for my report. I just wanted to do a quick recap on local political results. And with that, we have our department heads here. I see Mr. DeWater on the screen, so we'll start out with that.
Mayor, we just a real short, we started landscaping the cul-de-sacs, doing some work on that. We'll be doing that for the next couple of weeks. And we are ready for winter. And with that ends my report.
Okay.
You planting milkweed in the cul-de-sacs? I think you kind of have to now.
No.
November,
Said I will speak with Jill Moody as a liaison between the 4 young ladies who gave that presentation, and we can come up with a sizable area down at the pavilion or another location if they think a better location exists, and we can get going on that in the spring. Next up, we're going to go to the police department, and in place of Chief Wyatt, we have Executive Lieutenant Todd Dietzel.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing on the report that I have for this month is that we received a replacement for Patrol Unit 4932, a 2023 Chevy Tahoe for the price of $43,645.
Okay. Any questions for Executive Lieutenant Dietzel? Okay, thank you, Todd.
Welcome, sir.
We'll move on to our village engineer, Jeff Filarski.
Thanks, Mayor. I don't have anything to report. If there's any questions.
I do have one question. I meant to ask you when we were on the phone yesterday. Do we have a time frame for striping on Sugar Boulevard?
I wish I could tell you it was tomorrow. It's day to day. This time of year, the striping companies are backed up, especially the one that is being used out there at Traftech. So I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately, but I've been asking every other day for it.
All right, thanks for staying on top of that. We appreciate it. Any other questions for Mr. Filarski?
Hey, Jeff, if it gets too late, do we have to delay it, or can it be done in the winter if there's a nice day? Is it just a?
It could be done to, a certain temperature, not down to freezing, but I actually changed the material. The original material I was going to use was an epoxy paint, which needed a higher temperature, but due to number one, they can't get it for a couple of months. It's actually a backlog ordering. That's all over. And due to, the temperatures I saw coming, I'm just going to go with the regular alkyd paint, which will be a little less money for us. But we should be able, with the temperatures coming in the next week, during the day, especially when it's sunnier, should be able to get it down.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. Mr. Kowalski.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have anything to report at this time.
Okay, thank you for checking in. Any questions for our building official? Okay, I will. Paul, I think it's okay to relate the results of our meeting this morning, right?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah, we did meet with the Nassari family, an ongoing legal dispute. It's been about 6 or 7 months since we went to court, and the judge still has not ruled. So we met with Mr. Kowalski, and I met this morning under the guidance of Todd Hunt and Sandra Provide as a prosecutor. And we hammered out a solution I think is very reasonable for both parties. And so I think we're going to be tossing it out of court, moving forward and getting rid of that one off of our list of things that are irritating us, which is always a good list to dwindle down. Prashant is not able to make it this evening with us, and that brings us, I believe all department heads who are checking in virtually can check out now, and that brings us to an update from Bill Hannah.
And Mayor, I have no report.
Thank you. Okay, appointments and confirmations, we have none. Communications, petitions, or claims, we have none. That brings us to reports from committees. Roads and safety did not meet this past month.
I would just add one thing.
Sure.
Just that we're going to be interviewing Monday, continue as another 3 internal candidates for the chief position. And interviews are set up for this coming Monday.
And those on the panel should have received the format and the questions and some guidance on how we're going to structure. And we have a pile this big of things to read this weekend if you have them.
Received and thank you. That's it. So,
Thank you for that, Mr. Fish. Facilities also did not meet. Mr. Emmerman, do you have anything you want to? For the November 7th BZA planning commission meeting, I can tackle this one. We had 2 items on lists. One is a lotsmith at the Smith Farm. This is the farm on Miles Road that has been in a state of flux for a couple of years now in terms of what's going to be built there, how it's going to be sold, how it's going to be parceled out. They came before us for a simple lot split to have lots 1 and 2. If you remember last time we left this issue, there was lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the lot split that they came before us for was to keep the back house, the driveway, and 2 accessory buildings, and then provide an easement to lot number 2, which would be the balance of the acreage there, which I believe is 17 acres. And that easement would allow that driveway to be used to go back to their current house where the Smiths live. There was an attorney present who was representing another party that's involved in a legal dispute. There has been a ruling on a lower court, so there has been a ruling on the Smiths' favor. They were asking for us not to allow the lot split to move forward. However, under the guidance of our legal counsel, there was no official stay and there was no legal instrument that was binding that we had to adhere to. So this was a resident who in good faith was coming before us for a request for lot split and deserved to be heard. They were, and they received the lot split. Secondly, Afif Maroon, who owns the Marathon station that is being changed over to an Amico station at Miles 91, came before us for a variance for his signage. His sign is about 19 feet tall now. It is going to be taken down and put back up, and that means it needed to come before planning and BZA again, almost as a new sign. Top height of the sign will be 12 feet, and the bottom of the sign will be at 7 feet. We made sure that the line of sight issues were addressed by the PD. The chief did either by himself or send out a couple patrol officers to check out the line of sight for the new height because we'll be a little bit lower. And he assured us that he has no problems safety wise. So that variance, because we don't allow anything above 5 feet signage, that variance to go up to 12 from 5, so a variance of 7 feet was granted by the BZA. And then both of those items were heard in the planning commission and approved. Any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward. That brings us to the Parks Commission, which we met on October 17th, and we'll go to Councilman Yankee for that report.
Thank you, Mayor Prince. You've all received the minutes, so let me know if you have any questions on those, but I just did want to highlight Forest Ridge is very well attended. Sincerely like to thank the service department. The hayride was definitely one of the highlights. So I think that's something the Parks Commission will look forward to trying to do on an annual basis.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment about the Parks Commission. You know, Sherry and I early in the year sat down, even late last year, we were talking about events that we'd like to have over at Lane Pavilion. And it seems like, you know, some of the ideas that we were thinking about, the Parks Commission just really grabbed and ran with it and really made it easier for us, you know. It doesn't matter whose name is attached to a Halloween celebration, as long as it's all orchestrated. They always do a great job. They're very engaged and dedicated in their cause, so we are very fortunate to have the Parks Commission members that we do. Just want to give them a shout out. Thank you for that report. Any questions for Mr. Yankee? Approval of bonds, contracts, and plats. We have none, which brings us to ordinances and resolutions. First being 2022-65. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to purchase one 2023 Chevrolet Tahoe four-wheel drive, one FL PPV sport utility vehicle for the police department from Ganley Chevrolet of Aurora for an amount less than the state procurement program contract number RS 1008658 and declaring an emergency. This goes to Mr. Yankee.
Thank you, Mayor Fritz. As the mayor described, this ordinance authorizes the mayor to purchase a 2003 Tahoe. It was initially described by Lieutenant Dietzel at the February council meeting for budget approval, and it was approved at the March council meeting. The cost of $43,645 does exceed the initial budget amount of $40,000, but due to the delay in obtaining the Tahoe, due to supply chain issues, coupled with inflation, did inflate the cost. I did speak with the chief and was reviewed by Prashant, and there's money for that. So with that being said, I will make a motion to suspend the rules.
We have a motion to suspend the rules by Councilman Yankee, seconded by Councilman Fish.
Mr. Emberman?
Yes.
Mr. Fish?
Yes.
Mr. Yankee?
Yes,
Mr. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
and I will move for passage.
Second. We have a motion for passage from Councilman Yankee, seconded by Council President Spencer.
Yes, sir.
Questions, any discussion on it? Thank you. I want to thank council. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to thank council for their understanding of the supply chain issues. It seems like everything we budgeted for has gone out. I don't take $3,000 lightly, but relatively insignificant in the scheme of our budget, but we need to keep an eye on all of those things. And if the supply chain imposes a bigger hardship, you know, it might be a situation where we will forego that purchase. But right now, I think this makes sense. It's smart and it's a vehicle that we need. So thank you for your efforts there. And we can go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Emberman?
Yes.
Mr. Fish?
Yes.
Mr. Yankee?
Yes,
Mr. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-66, an ordinance authorizing change order number 2 with Jadco Construction Services Incorporated for the patching and painting of the Miles Road retaining wall and declaring an emergency. This goes to Council President Spencer.
Thank you, Mayor. So I think we've talked about this numerous times at council. There were some serious repairs to the retaining wall at Miles Road near Bentleyville Road. There was a change order earlier in the year because the repairs of the digging out of the deteriorating concrete and paint were more expensive than originally expected. This change order is just really to close out the work, you know, final closing of it. And the amount is an increase of $858.50. And then this project will be complete. The engineer has reviewed and signed off on it, and I support that. So with that, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
We have a motion to suspend the rules from Council President Spencer, seconded by Councilman Yankee. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Emberman?
Yes.
Mr. Fish?
Yes.
Mr. Yankee?
yes,
Mr. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes. Are there any questions about this project? Then I'll move for passage, please.
Second.
Motion for passage from Council President Spencer, seconded by Councilman Richmond. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Emberman?
Yes.
Mr. Fish?
Yes.
Mr. Yankee?
yes,
Mr. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-67, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and the clerk of council to enter into an agreement with the Springfield Suburban Volunteer Firemen's Association Incorporated for the provision of fire protection and emergency medical services and declaring an emergency. This goes to Councilman Fish.
All right, I'm gonna try and describe this as best we can to even questions. May I, may I interject, Mayor? Yes, you might. I actually would like to make a motion to table this resolution or table this ordinance. I feel like we've been reviewing and discussing it, and I don't think there's been adequate yet deliberation among council and adequate understanding of the increases in costs. I'm not opposed to it as I've dug into it this week, but I feel like personally, I'm not prepared to vote. So I'd like to make a motion to table. If others feel differently, they may deny the motion.
I think, well, I commend you on your due diligence, and I think certainly we have another month to pass it. And what we could do is have a representative, as Mr. Fish and I discussed, they do have representatives willing to come to committee of the whole or council. So why don't we shoot to have them come to committee of the whole? If that's a consent, this is legislative, so it's not in my hands. But if you folks decide that, I will make sure that we have a representative of that committee of the whole to go over the contract.
Just as one point, I would support that, and I would love to see a representative from River Valley Fire come and speak with us, and I'd be happy to entertain. Committee of the whole.
Okay with that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Everyone else okay?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful as well if we had in your past a comparison summary, Mayor, of the prior years increases, just for historical background.
Sure. Okay, well, we'll make sure that happens, Mr. Fish, and I'll communicate on that. We've got Assistant Chief Katani to come to committee of the whole, and then that gives a week.
Motion to table.
Table.
I think you made it.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion. We have a motion to table ordinance 2022-67 by Council President Spencer and seconded by Councilman Yaki.
Mr. Emmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Fish,
Yes.
Mr. Yaki,
Yes.
Mr. Richmond,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
And thank you for your due diligence in going through the contract with all. Pretty ready for the fixes relevant.
That's fine.
Ordinance 2022-68, a resolution approving the adoption of the Cuyahoga County 2022 through 2027 all hazard mitigation plan and declaring an emergency. This one goes to Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. So yes, a resolution 2022-68 calls Moreland Hills to adopt the county's 2022-27 all hazard mitigation plan. All 59 of the county's communities have adopted the prior versions of this plan. It is updated every 5 years. The type of hazards, just FYI, in our area that are covered by this plan are thunderstorms, tornadoes, snowstorm, blizzard, ice storms, extreme temperatures, flooding, wildfire, and erosion. And basically, this plan serves to first of all locate the risks of all of these hazards and where they occur most. It develops standards to mitigate the risk, guides communities in their risk management by way of regional cooperation to minimize conflicts between agencies, and it also provides eligibility for mitigation funds, mitigation project funds. So with that background, I would like to first make a motion to suspend the rules for this resolution.
Okay, we have a motion to suspend the rules by Councilman Richmond, seconded by Councilman Yaki.
Mr. Emmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Fish.
Yes.
Mr. Yaki.
Yes.
Mr. Richmond,
Yes,
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
and I move to approve the resolution.
Second.
A motion to approve by Councilman Richmond, seconded by Councilman Yaki. Any discussion or questions? Sure, call the roll.
Mr. Emmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Fish.
Yes.
Mr. Yankee,
Yes.
Mr. Richmond,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilman Richmond. 2022-69, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the auditor of the state of Ohio to compile annual financial statements for the years 2022 and 23, and issue account reports thereon and declaring an emergency. This goes to Council President Spencer.
Thank you, Mayor. See, the council may recall, or at least people that run council for a while, that we manage our financial statements here on a cash basis. In order for the state to audit our books, we have to hire the auditor to convert those books into a accrual accounting basis. So we provide what the finance department does here, Prashant and his folks, is they prepare daily reports, they compile those into the monthly reports that we get, that we can see, you know, where our cash position is. And then they provide all that information to the state auditor, who then converts it. And this is a process that takes a few weeks. The cost is $3,300 a year. It's a very reasonable cost for this activity. It's fairly routine. And then we will have the audit of our statements just like we had last year. So with that, I will make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend the rules by Council President Spencer, seconded by Councilman Yankee.
Mr. Emmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Fish.
Yes.
Mr. Yankee,
Yes.
Mr. Richmond,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes. Are there any questions about this process? Then I'll we'll make a motion to pass this ordinance, please.
Motion to pass by Council President Spencer and you, Richard, you're moved by Councilman Fish.
Wow. It's quick.
Step on the draw. Chair, call the roll.
Mr. Emmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Fish.
Yes.
Mr. Yankee,
Yes.
Mr. Richmond,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-70, an ordinance providing additional appropriations, transferring items already appropriated, declaring an emergency. This one goes to Councilman Elmer.
Thank you. So there's a number of proposed appropriations this month. And that's because it's November. So as Prashant has done a fantastic job with budgeting and preparing the budget that we approved toward the end of the year, as some of the expenses become more realized, there's these fine adjustments at the very end to carry us through the year. So the first being fuel. So with the increase in fuel prices, we spent more on fuel this year. So to carry us through to the end of the year, there's a proposal for $20,000 additional in fuel. For salt, we're going to be entering into our salt contract soon. So hopefully we won't need it this year. Just kidding. But that gets encumbered now for our contract that would carry us through the beginning of 2023. Architecture expense, those are flow through funds. So those are the revenue that is funded through fees, and that is a review that's done before people come for zoning and planning. For utilities, that reflects increase in gas price, natural gas. So heating the building, either that or keep the thermostat too high.
Dr. Marshall.
Yeah.
Codified ordinances, that is reflects that reflects work from Walter Haverfield to with regard to the charter amendments and the sport to the election. For capital law enforcement, that is a mobile radio for the detective car, as we discussed, I think last meeting. Or maybe that was just during.
We've been during
Well,
committee.
It had been previously discussed, and then also for additional weapons. So, guns and whatnot for the police department. And then for Village Park, other expenses, this one, Prashant and I didn't know which sign this was, but there's a sign that was needed at Forest Ridge. That was unexpected. I wasn't quite sure what sign that was.
Dedications.
We got the trifold sign.
Yeah, so it
That
wasn't,
just came in. It
okay,
might be that. Do you know the price?
this is $1,000.
How much?
1,000,
Okay, so that was the trifold was 3,000 something.
6 or something.
Yeah.
Was it that high?
Yeah.
It certainly wasn't one. So we did have to put up a sign for Nature Works
it is
and the Ohio Capital Fund, for which we got money for.
that,
And it could be the combination of those two
Yeah.
signs. I'm not aware of any additional signs other than clean up after your dog signs, which are small.
well, so this is for signage, Ed, this is for.
My guess it's for the people who gave us money to help build a pavilion.
Yeah, I
The
would imagine
recognition
that's,
sign, yeah.
I would imagine that's what it is. But yeah, so he said required the signage at the work, so.
We can confirm that and send out an email tomorrow from Marcia. to do that, sure.
And then for transfers, there's a proposed transfer from the general funds and municipal motor vehicle fund, which supports the drainage and culvert program. And a transfer from the general fund to the general bond retirement fund. So if you remember, twice a year, we pay on our bonds once mid-year and then also in December. And so that would be for both, the December payment is both the interest and principal payment. And that's it for the transfer ordinance for this month. So that'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second. Motion to suspend the rules by Councilman Emmerman, seconded by Councilman Fish. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Emmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Fish.
Yes.
Mr. Yankee,
Yes.
Mr. Richmond,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve by Councilman Emmerman, seconded by Council President Spencer. Any discussion or questions?
Mr. Emmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Fish.
Yes.
Mr. Yankee,
Yes.
Mr. Richmond,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
We had also asked for a sign that will say Village Park. That will go, or Lang Pavilion, that will go under the Village Park signage, but on the same supports. I'm wondering if it could be that too. So we'll find that out. Because people are driving by and going.
Yeah, that
"Hey,
makes
that's for
Yeah.
Forest Ridge," so we want to feature Lang Pavilion with some signage. This brings us to miscellaneous by members of council. Any members of council wish to comment?
Couple small things, Mayor.
Okay.
First, I don't think I did this last month, so I just wanted to thank the village and its roads and safety committee for moving on Lower Jackson signage. I think the signage is visible and I hope is effective. I'm gonna be, as over time, observing myself as well as talking to residents down on that little street. Thank you for taking some swift action on trying to address the safety issue. So I really appreciate that. Second is I'd just like to give a brief update on the open council position. As you know, we advertised, we've had interest. A number of folks have been interested and have sent in resumes and cover letters as we requested. I will be compiling that and sending it out. We have received some of the materials to support some of the interview process that will be scheduled in the next few weeks. We expect to have that done in hopefully by the end of November, because our date, Sherry, remind me, is December 5th, where is our deadline. So feeling good about the process. And looking forward to some of the interviews and the discussions. So
What's our number right now?
May I have a quick thing?
Sure.
Okay, I did reach out, recall her, committee, the whole meeting, and so reach out to one of the council folks at Lakewood who were involved with Lakewood's solar panel build project. I've been playing tag, but I wanted to ask two things. First, Mr. Hannah, while you're here, for any of us interested, similar to what we did when we kind of took a field trip and looked at Moreland Commons. We didn't have any discussion, really just wanted to kind of see what was done. Can we do that even if we have a majority of council folks?
Yeah, if you follow sort of the informational meeting model where you just receive information and you don't discuss it or deliberate amongst council people, then that's not a meeting.
Okay, great. And second, if I can arrange for my first choice, because it might be easier during the weekend, a Saturday meeting, can I maybe show of hands, or if you want to email me, give me an idea if you might be interested.
I'm very interested. I'm in and out of town the weekend after Thanksgiving, but we're working on it.
Okay, I'll get
And
it.
if I can't make it, I can't. You guys do what you need to do.
Depends on sports schedules.
Yeah, I'll get a couple of days, maybe I can check when they're gonna be there, maybe we can go like right before their meeting, they'll already be. I'll get back to everybody.
Steve, I was gonna suggest that if you want to use it, you can communicate with Sherry on a number of dates and times, and she can send out one of those doodles where everybody
Oh, okay,
can
great.
say all their availability. They pick the date with the most availability.
Good idea, thank you.
Okay. There's no other discussion, looking for a motion.
Adjourned.
Motion to adjourn by Councilman. Second by Councilman.
Mr. Emmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Fish.
Yes.
Mr. Yankee,
Yes.
Mr. Richmond,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
All right.